For tuning in, my name is T. You're watching TokYo-Yo Reviews. Today we're going to be continuing with the benchmark series. As promised, I will be giving you 3 benchmark reviews, one after the other, and then I will end it with a time on between the 3. I don't have an H, sorry about that. So it's going to be a battle between the W, the O, and the V. So let's get right into it, no dilly-dallying. Today we're going to be looking at the second in our benchmark series, and that is the second one that I bought, which is the benchmark V. Does the benchmark V just keel over, or does it bench everything you throw at it? So let's start off with the shape. So the shape of the V, obviously, is a V. For a V shape, this is extremely comfortable. It's very round. You notice that it kind of flattens out up at the rim here. It's very rounded off and comfortable to hold. The cup has the similar inner ring to the W. The area around here is very smooth, then you have a lot of inner cuts here. And in this cup for the red benchmark V, I have the gold or yellow, I can't remember, flat caps, which are pretty heavy, and I like the sort of Iron Man looking color this thing has going on right now. The material again is the Pyramat, just like the benchmark W. This one is in there red. The feel, as I mentioned with the shape, is extremely comfortable. Many V shapes typically have a little bit of a sharper edge, or they're a little bit sharper when they're going up to the rim. This is extremely smooth. It almost defies the V shape because it is just so smooth and comfortable. And the look is very, very classy, not only in the cup with the side effects again that you can customize, but also just, it looks really nice. It's simplistic, but you don't see a lot of V shapes with one drop. So I think they really knocked it out of the park. It is a V shape, but it definitely has their trademark class and aesthetic. It definitely has the one drop aesthetics to it. Not too much in the way of history for the benchmark V. It's mostly the same as I mentioned in the benchmark W review, so I'll make it quick. The benchmark yo-yos, there's one of each shape, the W, H, O, and V, and they share the exact same diameter, width, and weight, except for if you take the side effects out and change them, so it's a very interesting project. And because I've already had the W, I was very interesting to try out the V, and I'm not a fan of V shapes typically, so I was quite curious to see how this played. But besides that, there's not much else in the way of the history of the V. I just thought it looked interesting. Spin Gear had them on sale, so I decided to pick one up after I got the W. As far as playability, this thing is kind of a beast. It really feels like a performer similar to the W, but it definitely doesn't sacrifice comfort. I feel like it does have a bit of an advantage in the area of comfort because it doesn't have the extra flared wing of the W. It is very, very nice and comfortable, rounded in the hand, which helps during play, helps during catches. Of course, with all one-drop throws, it's a very long spinner. You guys all know this. One thing I have found with this, it can turn if you're not too careful. It does tend to tilt a little bit. I find that a grooved bearing does help with this. This does have the original 10-ball flat bearing in it. I just switched it out because I didn't have any spare grooved bearings at the moment. But it plays well either way. It's extremely smooth with the original one-drop 10-ball. But I think as long as you're careful, it's not going to tilt too much on you. I'm a pretty sloppy player, so that's probably my fault. As I mentioned, I do feel like the benchmarks feel a little better, heavier in my opinion. So as I mentioned, this has the flat cap side effect. I do like that the weight gives it a little bit more extra stability. I do enjoy a heavier side effect. You're going to be able to get some really nice finger grinds. I feel like it's very easy to get your finger in here. I don't feel like any of the benchmarks are really into like catering to any one trick. I think you see a lot of yo-yos that are like, you know, as I say, the all-rounder. It does thumb grinds, it does finger spins, it does all this other stuff. But I like how the benchmarks are just really solid yo-yos. Personally, I probably prefer the comfort of the V, which is really surprising to me because if I had to choose a W or a V, I'd probably choose a W shape first. But in the case of the benchmarks, this is so different and so round and comfortable and so just representative of what One Drop puts into their yo-yos, you know, the interesting shapes and just comfort, that I just think it's too interesting to pass up. So if you do get a chance, I would really pick up a V. It may surprise you. All right, guys, let's get into the pros and cons of the Benchmark V. As I mentioned a million times in this review, it's extremely comfortable for a V shape, which is pretty surprising since many Vs, especially the more competition-y based ones, tend to be a lot sharper. If you see like as I mentioned, the railgun, which is a C3 yo-yo design, is extremely sharp on the edges. I'm not personally a fan of that, but it is definitely a performer. But I like that this can perform without being uncomfortable. Should have made this a pro in my W review. I don't remember if I did or not. But I just love the Benchmark project. I just think it's a really cool engineering idea to try to make a bunch of yo-yos that cater to the same basic design, but have their own personality, because all of these yo-yos play completely differently. So if you gave this to someone and said, oh yeah, by the way, the weight, the diameter, and the width are the exact same, they'd be like, oh wait, what? It's kind of crazy that One Drop is able to pull off stuff like this. It comes with the energy domes, as I mentioned, so if you want to switch them out, which I usually do, I do like the energy dome. I do like the energy domes, but I love the flat cap and I like the rusty red with the yellow, very Iron Man-esque. Again, response, flow groove should be in every yo-yo. I always say this. The only yo-yo I've ever seen that has a response as good as flow groove is my baby boy, the carp fin here. But besides that, every other yo-yo should have flow groove. It's just awesome. It's a good performer. It performs just as well as just about any One Drop, I feel like. Your actual results may vary depending on the shape you like or depending on what kind of side effects you put into it, but that's the beauty of the benchmarks, is you can really customize them however you like. But I feel like at its base, it is a really solid all-round performer. As for cons, I feel like this is always an unfair con, and it gets mentioned in every One Drop review. But I guess in case this is the only One Drop review you ever watch of mine, just remember that the side effects, which can be taken out and switched with other ones that are lighter or heavier, may take tuning. I find that they're pretty smooth out of the box, and you're never going to have something that you would consider vibey. If you have the side effects snug and you crank it enough, you're going to find it to an amount of smoothness that's just fine. But if you want it real smooth, you're going to have to get in there, mess with the side effects, and get them tuned just right. And last segment of this TokYo-Yo review, who's the Benchmark V for? I think the Benchmark V is a really cool V shape. I would actually recommend this V shape over other ones. I know that there's a lot of V shapes that maybe can do a little bit more stuff, like if you think about the C3 Yo-Yo design Move, which is one of my favorite V shapes. That's got the finger spin dimple, it plays real fast, it's heavy, but because of that it has some pretty good momentum. It comes in some amazing colorways, but still I think for comfort, this just really nails it. I think if you want a V shape that performs pretty well, you want to get into side effects, but you don't want to get one of the like a Markmont Classic or something that's a little more pricey, I think the Benchmark is a way to go. And if you're a fan of V shapes, this is a no-brainer. As I mentioned in another review, watch out. Once you get one of the Benchmarks, you're going to want to get all of them, so buyer beware. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching part 2 of the Benchmark series. So we've done the W, this is the V, next up is the O, and then we're going to have a little time on to see which one I like the most. It's really a shame I couldn't get an H, but what are you gonna do? Thanks for all the likes, comments, and subscriptions. I'm up to 400 plus now, so keep it going. Once we hit 500, I will do my giveaway. I know what I'm giving away now, so look forward to that. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Take care, have a nice day, and sayonara.